Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Plan on Perfect podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Penton. And today I'm going to be talking about how you can create a baking day. I'm so passionate about baking and baking days that I always talk about it in all of my communities and everything else, only because of the joy that you can find in getting your hands in some bread dough. I mean, even though I have radically changed my personal diet I've been a vegan for about a year and have seen such amazing results. I still will I still will eat some of my good bread and things like that of that nature. Because when you're baking from scratch, you can control the ingredients of what goes in. And I've just always loved that. And I've always bought the best ingredients. And to be able to share that with my family, you just can't you can't, it's indescribable. I mean, that's all I could say. It's indescribable. So before we get started, and I dive into the elements of a baking day and how you can get started yourself, because I really want you guys to get started and I want you to try it. And what better time to start than right now, because it's Christmas, right? So you might as well get started. I know darn well you're going to at least do some baking today. So I'm going to inspire you to be able to do even a little bit more so that you can kick off the new year with, with feeding your family really, really well and implementing a baking day to not only save money, because you will, but you'll also just win your family over with just the most amazing things coming out of the oven. And it's just indescribable of the feeling that it gives you and your family. It feeds the soul. So before we get started, I want to start off by saying something funny that one of my children said. Gabe, he's actually my second son. He's my fourth baby. But what he said when he was about 5 in the kitchen, I always reminisce about all the funny things that my kids say, don't you? But this one I think everyone's going to get a kick out of, but he loved peanut butter and jellies. And so I remember making him one time. He said, Mom, make me peanut butter and jelly. And I did, and I didn't have anything on hand except for the crunchy kind, the crunchy peanut butter. And I didn't really think anything of it. I really thought he'd be fine with it. And I made it and I gave it to him, but I didn't tell him. And I gave it to him and he took a couple bites and I just kind of did a triple take and I looked at his face and it was of like horror. And he kind of pushed the plate aside and up toward me and he said, Mom, I don't eat sandwiches with rocks in it. I was like, are you kidding me? I mean, that one went in the books. He really genuinely thought he was eating a sandwich with rocks. And so love him. So let's get going and get started on a baking day, girls. I mean, honestly, baking days, I've been doing them for about 20 years. I get an apron on, I light a candle, I play music, and I go to town. And I've done it every week. Maybe I've stretched it because my baking day was so huge. I've stretched it to every 2. And I freeze. And then some stay on the counter for that week. And then some I freeze, which I can just pull out as needed. And it's just been phenomenal. I mean, phenomenal. And I'm a homeschooling mom of 8. And so this has proved to me to be a lifesaver. Now, even if you don't homeschool, you still have to pack lunches. You still have to feed your family. You still are always bumping up against children hungry, right? And I love implementing a baking day to help buffer the constant, hunger strike. And I'm not saying you're over there feeding them cookies and breads because that's what you're baking. It's just more or less you've got something that not only to implement, to complement. That's what I'm trying to say. To complement what your meals, your main meals and all that. But I'm talking breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There's always something that, you've got to be able to feed them with, and snacks. I mean, it's a full-time job in themselves. I mean, I've even considered pulling in a sofa into the kitchen because I'm there for so long. I might as well at least have something to sit on for 5 minutes in between making something or getting prepared something. It's just crazy. And if you got teenage sons, I mean, my gosh. And then, throw this in the mix, can we? everyone having different tastes and different likes. And though I appreciate that, and I've always been the type of mom who's never made their children eat something they don't like. I just find no point in it. And if you do that, then you really start to repulse them in trying anything new. Force only causes rebellion. And so I never force. And whenever I do that, I mean, my kids are huge vegetable eaters. They'll try stuff and all of that. So it's been proven to be really, and has worked for me for the long haul of raising children. So, but what I like to do then is, but still it can be hard. It can be something that you need to overcome and to be able to try to, compensate for that. So what I like to do, and this can maybe help you too, is that I like to sit down with my family on a Sunday evening, and I even throw my husband in the mix, and I'm like, listen, what do you want to eat for the week? What do we want to see on the table? What do you want to see coming out of the oven? Because I'll tell you what, nothing's worse than making something, putting in some love, and then a child or two comes down and says, ew. Okay, so, I mean, honestly, nothing makes you want to throw in the towel and buy processed food and, toss in a Stouffer's than that comment. It's like, why? Why do I even try when no one cares? Well, there's a way around it. So don't give up. I've even had someone leave a comment on my YouTube channel about my baking day. You guys should go catch it if you haven't. It's a great video. And I'm also in the middle of uploading another video on my actual baking day, one of my actual baking days. It's going to be a lot of fun. So hang tight. If you don't join me on YouTube yet, if you're not a subscriber, go do it. It's a lot of fun, especially if you're doing it until 2019. It is going to be a lot of fun, a lot of just everything about the whole woman. So the thing that you're going to want to do is make sure that you get everyone involved in the menu planning process. And I'm like, what do you want to do? Now, if everyone comes at you with different ideas of what dinner should be, which that is going to happen, a lot of times I can get them to all compromise on something. So even if it's like a rice and a chicken, I can say, okay, well, what I'll do, since some don't like Mexican, some don't like tacos, some want it plain, some like that. So I'll do like a rice, vegetable, and chicken. I'll do all three separate, and then they can add I'll put on the counter for dinner. I'll say, here's some soy sauce. Some kids just want a little butter with salt and pepper on the rice and just leave it all alone. And so that's an option for them. Or some can even make it into Chinese, like with the soy sauce, or they could Mexicanize it. They can make it a Mexican dish and make a taco salad or put it into a burrito. So it is just, with just a little bit of extra little things, everyone's happy. So I love doing that by compromising a little bit, by taking aspects and elements of what everyone loves, making something like that, and then being able to put it together. So that's one element of menu planning. Has nothing to do with the baking day per se, but if you're in one of those modes where you really have given up a lot because there's just, you can't please anyone and everyone's taking you for granted, which has happened to me over the course of my, 25 plus, years of being married, then I get you. I've got your back on that. However, you can't just throw in the towel. People have to eat, and I want you to get back in the game. So I've done that, and it's proven to be absolutely amazing. Some nights I'll plan, usually it's my grocery day, because we're gone so long on that day. I don't want to go through anything too labor intensive. We do sandwiches. And this is where my baking day proves to be fruitful, because I take my homemade bread that has like 3 ingredients, and I cut it into thick pieces, and I make paninis. And then for some, I just don't make paninis if they don't like it, little ones, and I'll make sandwiches. And so paninis and sandwiches it is on, like, usually it's a Monday night. That's what we always look forward to. And I cut my bread, and it's fat and delicious. My kids won't even eat anything other than my bread for the main part, because they're so in love with it. And just doesn't compare. So I'm going to get into these little menu items that we do and show you how I pull from my baking day. And then I'll kind of give you an idea of what I make here in a second. So for breakfast, eggs and toast. They like my toast. So I'll make scrambled eggs, and I'm using my own toast. I even make my own jelly, and they love that. I've done biscuits, and I can freeze them individually, pull it out. It's literally 30 seconds in the microwave, done. Cinnamon rolls, I've made those for breakfast, and I'll individually freeze them so they're not out and everyone just eats them morning, all day, morning through the evening. I'll individually wrap them, put them in the freezer, and 30 seconds, one cinnamon roll, little small, good sized little cinnamon roll, 30 seconds in the microwave and a little bit of glaze and it is done. And that's just a once in a while. It's not an everyday thing. That's something I'll make once a month, cinnamon rolls, and they just look forward to it so much. Pizza dough, love having pizza dough in hand. I'll just take out a little bit of the dough, lasts 5 days beautifully in your fridge, the dough. And for lunches, I can just press out the dough, quickly make some little mini pizzas, like personal pan type of pizzas. Pop it in the oven at a 500-degree oven for 12 minutes. You've got lunch. It's just so simple, yet it's homemade. And you know what's in your crust, and you know what's in your sauce, and you know what you're putting on your children's food. Then I'll do my homemade bread dough. I'll keep some dough in there. We've made homemade pretzels. For snacks, we've done runzas, which if you're not from the Midwest, they're just cabbage hamburger filled, almost like a calzone kind of thing. And my kids go crazy over it. And a lot of times I don't even add the cabbage. It's just like hamburger meat with cheese. And they absolutely love it. And so those will be for dinner, or sometimes I can do it for lunch. I'll even save my bread dough for like pigs in a blanket. So they love the little wrapped cocktail weenies. And I make sure I buy uncured. And I buy the best of everything that I can. We have pastured beef. We have game food, beef from, and we have game meat, I should say. And, unhormoned up chickens and things like that. I get my eggs from my daughter who raises chickens. I buy pastured eggs at the store if I can get them from her. And I buy that pasteurized milk from Pastured Butter, the Kerrygold. I just do the very best I can to ensure that they're getting the best of the best. I love to make little chocolate chip cookies, and I put them into snack size bags and freeze them and then pull them out in the morning so that they can have one or two in the afternoon. As well as you can see that it is a compliment. What I'm going to describe next is that there's fruit readily available everywhere. My kids are always eating some bananas and some apples. And if it's out, they eat it. And I've gotten some switched over to, sometimes I'll do hummus. So I'll have veggies out on a tray and they'll have that with hummus. Or they'll do a dip where I use the Kelowna brand, which is a very vat pasteurized, meaning it's not cooked. It's cooked just enough to be able to be regulated and to be brought into the stores and sold. But a lot of the properties and the enzymes are not cooked off. So it's still got some very good properties in the dairy. And I'll buy that kind of sour cream and I'll add my own spices to it. And so my kids will use that as a dip. But I love being able to provide all this for them. And my baking day, just when I pull all this stuff out, and it's like, it's one of those things where you feel like you're doing your job 100% and you're just feeling dang good about it. And if you're new to it, I don't want you to be intimidated. Learning how to make some easy bread recipe and conquering that is the first and best place to start, because I have the most amazing bread recipe on planetperfectmeals.com. And I'll go ahead and put the link down there. Or you can just go. It's so easy. And once you can get this bread, which you'll be able to get it on the first try. And once you get it out of the oven and you're smelling it and your kids try it with a little bit of butter and some honey, make it raw honey and it's even better. You're going to freak yourself out and your family out. Okay. And you're going to be like, I got to do this every week. And I'm going to provide the bread here for this family every single week. I can't even handle it. I've made that bread dough and I've braided it. Oh, so good. Looks like how you would braid like a challah bread. I make raisin bread with it, and sometimes I just throw a whole bunch of raisins in it. I don't even add anything else but that, maybe a little cinnamon in the dough, and I'll braid it, and oh my gosh, it's so good. And me being vegan, I'll take a big chunk of that, little raw honey. Oh my gosh. I've made breads with einkorn flour, which is an ancient wheat that's not been disturbed and touched. And it's just a really good flour. I have tried and done so much just because I love the home just the homemaking and the food. It's just, and my husband, he's always like, I take it for granted. This food that you make us, I'm dying inside. I love it so much. And so they will just scream. My kids, there's a couple of them and I love it. I always count on it. Like I'll like have googly eyes staring at them. And like one of them loves to run around the counter when I've really hit a home run. And I'm like, what do you think? And he'll go run around the kitchen like 10 times. He's 10. And I'm like, yes, you love it. And it's just one of those things where you definitely, and especially for 2019, if you want to start implementing a baking day, and if you want to really start getting in here and getting in your kitchen and trying to incorporate, even if you work outside the home, you can do it. It's just a little, just block out a bit of the whole afternoon on a weekend when the snow's falling, it's cold outside. This is going to be the best time to start and just get it in there, do it. Freeze half of it, leave some of it out. It's just going to, be able to have, I have even breadsticks frozen. I've baked them up and put them in the freezer, and nothing beats making a quick spaghetti Sunday dinner and being able to have those thawed and ready for me, warm them up real quick and put them on their plates. You can't beat it. You just can't beat it. So hope I have inspired you today to begin a baking day. And if you don't know where to start, begin with bread. PlannerPerfectMeals.com. Check out the link below. Hopefully you're going to be with me. I want you to be with me. I want you to love your kitchen. I want you to try some homemade goodness out. And these are for beginners. This is nothing that's too entailed. This is like recipes that are tried and true, and then they have multi-uses for them. My bread dough recipe, for example, can be used for a variety of different things. And so can pizza dough. So let's get to going and talking about this some more. Go check out my YouTube channel too to see all that I am going to be having and have already begun for menu planning and how to get started with this baking day, and also my community on Planner Perfect. I hope you'll join me over there, and I even have a meals group and all of that. So join me. I hope you're having a wonderful holiday season this far. So when you're beginning and doing some of your holiday baking right now, and you're cookie cutting out your favorite gingerbread recipe from your mother, remember me and try out the bread recipe while you're at it and pull out some homemade bread. Fa la 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 la. You're going to absolutely love it. Leave a comment. Let me know you're in and you're going to try this, because it'll radically change your life. It really, really will. I'm not kidding. It'll change your life. It'll change your family's life. And the recipes will just bring you such joy to be able to pull out and use, and to knowing you feed your family well and that they love it. And finally, maybe for the first time, you'll be able to get a grip on this meal thing and enjoy each other's company. Oh, I can't wait to spend some more time with you and on the next podcast. Thanks for joining me today. Make sure you leave a comment and say hello, and let me know how you're doing, and let me know how you're doing this holiday season with your baking and what you're trying, and what any tips you might have as well for menu planning yourself. We can all use the tips. Until next time, girls.